I want to plant some peas and some fava beans today. Not into the ground, but into those trays. What I did is to soak them just overnight. That gives them a great head start, just so they're really soaked up because they're obviously really big seeds. So that helps the process. So yeah, you can even leave it 2 days, I think, but I prefer to do it 1 day. So we'll put them in the trays here, and once they have grown to a certain size, I can transplant them into the beds or even outside. I will kind of observe how much space the cabbages will take and then decide if I plant them all in the greenhouse or a bit outside as well. I think a mixture will be a good idea anyway. So October is a perfect month to sow peas and beans, so you get to enjoy a really early harvest in early spring. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it now, and hopefully I can enjoy some vegetables then really early spring. Well, technically it's a legume, not a vegetable, but I'm gonna enjoy it anyway. So it's really early in the morning and the sun is shining beautifully. The greenhouse will be lit in a few minutes, I think, too, once the sun comes around the corner. But I really enjoy this really grounding work in the morning. Just getting my hands in the dirt, like literally. And, you know, planting some seeds, and it's such a purposeful job, in my opinion. So simple, but yet so purposeful. It will feed you at the end of the day, so, or at the end of the growing season. So yeah, it's really therapeutic in a way. If you have a second tray of the same size, it's a really good idea to press it down like slightly so, just on top of the soil, so it compacts the soil nicely but really lightly, and then you kind of have an even surface for the seed, you know, to grow around. So there's a rule of thumb just to help you to figure out how deep to plant your seeds. So it's usually double the depth of the actual seed. So if you have like a tiny seed, that just means it basically lays on the surface. If you have a bigger seed like that, it just goes, you know, double the size of the seed in there into the soil. And with a pea like that, it's basically just one more pea down. I hope I explained it well. So it's really a general rule, but I'm not too specific about it anyway. So if I just do it around that, you know, that rule of thumb, it works out pretty fine. Some seeds are a bit more difficult, like, you know, the ones that need warmth to grow, but peas and beans are pretty easy, so I don't worry too much about that. And my first mistakes as a gardener was to plant them way too deep into the soil, so they had a bigger struggle to get out there and find, you know, the way to the light. So since I'm following this rule, it made the success rate go up like crazily. And as you can tell, I'm only putting obviously one in the tray, although of course not all of them will germinate. That's totally fine. I plant always more than I need. That's another rule of thumb maybe. Sometimes plant double even as what you need, because not of them will germinate, and even the ones that germinate will maybe not be like healthy plants. So that's why you almost like, yeah, double or triple or quadruple even the seeds that you actually will need as plants later on. Okay, now just some water. And you know what I realized also? If I purchase a tray a bit bigger than this and slide it under this table here, all that soil that is, you know, lost along the process of seeding, well, I can collect it and then save it for another time. So that way I'm not wasting any of the good soil. So yeah, another step for improvement of this workstation. Oh, and by the way, somebody gave me the good advice to check for the treatment of those pellets, because apparently some of the pellets are treated chemically, and if you see a HT like those ones have, it means heat treatment, which is the best you can try to get because it's just treated with heat and not with chemicals. So if you're looking to build a table that is used, you know, for gardens and stuff, please make sure to check the treatment that was used. So yes, I'm happy about that. At least it's just a heat treatment and nothing else. But really good advice to check for the treatment, so thank you for sharing. So I've got 2 new babies, well actually more than that, but I had my birthday recently and I threw a small party with friends and neighbors, and they gifted me some lovely trees and plants. So I'm super pleased to give them a new home now. So this one is a lemon tree on my right, and on my left I have a big rosemary bush. So really excited for that. So yeah, one more step closer to self-sufficiency. Obviously the tree will take a bit more time to produce fruit, but it's already a huge size. And the bush obviously I can already harvest, and even, you know, to start propagating my own rosemary. So yeah, that's an amazing gift, so thank you again. So I'll put them into the ground now. Woo-hoo-hoo, they're heavy. So I chose this spot here for the lovely lemon tree, just before the start of one of the, you know, garden patches. And it will be in great company together with a nespereira and a quince tree. So it has some nice neighbors already. And I think this spot is great, first of all, because this is just a walking path towards the garden, so enough space to plant some trees. This spot has a lot of sun exposure as well, which is amazing for a lemon tree. I also thought once it grows bigger, I can even collect the lemons just from the upper terrace, so I don't have to climb up the tree, which is perfect. So even if it grows higher, still enough space over here. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. Let's go. So I don't know how this one was grown, but it's important to check how the roots are growing. And sometimes what happens if they're grown into those pots for a very long time, they kind of, you know, wrap around their own trunk and kind of stop the circulation from going. So I will put this in a bucket of water just to see how the roots are, you know, growing, and if I kind of need to loosen them up a bit before planting it into the soil. So that's another thing you can check for before planting a tree, just to make sure it has a good head start and, yeah, a future as well. I'll get a bucket of water. So now you can also see the pot was going until here, but the roots actually start just here. So I will plant a tree around this area rather than as deep as here. The problem is with getting it from a pot, obviously you really have to check where the roots really start, and in this case you can see it's way lower than the actual pot where it was planted. So planting it as deep as that would provoke it to be, you know, exposed to moisture all the time, and the tree trunk would rot over time. So that's why it's important just to start where the roots are starting. So yeah, I will plant it as far as this, and this is really nice clay soil as well, so I will break it up and put it into the hole as well. So we'll have a bit of clay soil, a bit of, you know, freshly planted soil, and my own soil, so it's a good mixture and good head start for this wonderful tree. Right, baby? Mwah! And give it some love, important step. you can see it's nicely covered. I slightly, pressed it down with my hands, but not with my feet, so the soil is not compacted too much. So you can see that this part of the trunk, which was in the pots, is now free again. So hopefully no trunk rotting going on. I will put some mulch around it as well. Obviously it's not so important at this stage because it's a really wet season, but still just helps a bit to give this a nice protection area around it. And for summer and spring, obviously, it will help it to stay nice and moist. So, plant passport. Okay, you can grow now. I think this one is happy, and now I can plant the rosemary. So I chose this spot here for the lovely rosemary. It's on the level where the greenhouse is, and I think along this area it can grow and spread really nicely. It's a beautiful sun-exposed spot as well, so perfect for the sun-loving rosemary. And yeah, it can grow wildly here, over here, I don't mind. It can go as crazy as it wants to be. So yeah, let's give you a new home, little Rosie. The soil is way more compacted here. Look at this root system, amazing. So again, where the root starts is just at ground level, so it's again the perfect spot how to plant it. I have one more very special tree to plant, and I will plant it all the way on top of the land. Let's check it out. So, as you can see, it's a beautiful chestnut tree, bigger than me already, so that was an amazing gift. Thank you again. And yes, I decided for the spot here on top of the land, because the plan for this part of the land is to make some sort of natural food forest. And obviously I already have some lovely hazelnut trees here, and the chestnut tree will be a great addition. It's a big tree, so I made sure to have at least 6 meters from each of the bushes or trees. Here I planted a baby oak. I transplanted it from a spot where it couldn't grow because it was too crowded amongst too many trees. But yes, that's kind of the spot that I chose. I think it's perfect. This tree here can really grow really, really big without being in the way of anything else, because obviously I haven't planted much yet here. So yeah, let's give this beautiful tree a new home, and then someday I will have some chestnuts. That's amazing. So the first step is the same as I did with the lemon tree, is to soak it in water, just to see how the roots are growing around the tree. As you can see, this is a great example of how the roots were like wrapped around the trunk, or like starting to wrap around the trunk. So it's an amazing step now to loosen them up and to spread them in all directions rather than how it was now. So yeah, that's a really good example actually for what I was trying to explain earlier. So this was probably planted in a pot for a while. I don't think in the pot that I got it from, but in another one. But yeah, first of all I'll check the level of the soil. I'm a bit too deep, so I'll add a bit more of the soil that I just dug up. Let's see, this should be just fine. I just put it just right at the soil level. Now I kind of spread around the... So actually the roots are already so big that I want to dig the hole a bit wider actually, as you can see, otherwise they will be in a round shape and I don't want that, so I'll do a bit more digging here. Okay, that was the last one of the trees. I have still more planting to do, but now it's time to plant some onions. One more planting action going on for today. I bought this bag of bulb onions, which I'm going to plant all along this terrace here. Remember, this is a terrace that I put some cover crops in, and as you can see, it's growing really well. So I think it's a great addition to put some onions in, and I also like to cook just with the spring onions, so we'll have double the harvest basically from using the spring onion, the greens from it, and then basically the actual onion. By the way, this whole bag costs like €3. So imagine having all those big onions later on in the season, and as well harvesting, you know, the spring onion, the actual green onion. Yeah. Amazing, right? What you can do with €3 and a bit of land, obviously, but yeah, okay, fine. Let's go, let's plant those bulbs. So to plant those bulbs, it's really important to kind of figure out where the root of the bulb is and where the top green part will grow, like this basically. And another mistake that most people made and I made before is to plant it way too deep. So this top part should just, you know, stick out a little bit. So the onion basically grows almost on top of the soil, if you imagine it, and once it's ripe you can really see it. It's really loose on top of the soil. So the deeper you plant it, the less chance it has to grow big. So yeah, maybe you can just pay attention to those few, you know, instructions when you do it, and you should be good to go. So having now the greenhouse and, you know, probably being able to enjoy some delicious greens in a few weeks, the other steps like planting the trees, for example, are more the long-term goals, I guess, in terms of self-sufficiency. But I've noticed I have some wild purslane growing in my big garden. So I will pick it now and make kind of a stir-fry out of it. So there are always some small things you could do to start to live self-sufficiently on your plot, on your garden, on your allotment, whatever, you know, works for you or what you have available. To prepare my purslane, I'm just gonna fry up some onion, some garlic, use a bit of chili, which I got gifted from a neighbor, and it's also great to save the seeds for next year. Yes, and then just, you know, with some olive oil, just fry it up really nicely, really quickly. You could eat it raw, so just use it like spinach. You could either, you know, do it really quickly or, you know, boil it in a soup obviously as well, but that's the way I like to do it. And yeah, and then I can enjoy my dinner. And that's what it looks like afterwards. And let's give it a try. It's probably hot still. Really delicious, super easy. Again, onion, garlic, chili, olive oil, salt, and purslane. If you can find some on your plots or your garden or in the area, just around the neighborhood, go collect some and try this one out. It has a really fresh and slightly sour taste, which is amazing. Some recipes I like to press some fresh lemon juice on top, but this one you don't need. It has a natural lemony flavor. Really nice. This is also where I'll leave you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, just get inspired by the ways you could, you know, try self-sufficiency in a really small steps. There are different ways to do it. You could do it all around. Obviously, my goal is in the end to do it fully, but again, there are small steps along the way that you can take. And yeah, so I'll see you next time. Bye!